Chapter 3. "Here we are, madam." The big black car stopped, and a police officer opened the back door. "Thank you." Helen Sandberg smiled at him as she got out. Another police officer opened the front door of her house. Inside the house it was quiet. Her daughter was reading. She put the book down. "Hello, Mummy. You're late. You said you'd be home by 10 o'clock. I wanted to talk to you about my homework, remember?" Helen sat down. "I'm sorry, Sarah. I did remember, really. But I had a very busy day. Anyway, I'm home now. What's the problem?" "It's this book," said Sarah. "I have to write about it at school on Friday, and I don't understand it." "All right," said Helen. "Bring the book into the kitchen and I'll look at it while you make me a cup of coffee." They sat in the kitchen and talked for nearly half an hour. Then Helen looked at her watch. "Okay, Sarah, that's enough for now. It's nearly midnight and I must be up at 6 tomorrow. I'm going to bed. Good night." Alone in her bedroom, she undressed and got into the big, empty bed. She was very tired. She closed her eyes, and in 3 minutes she was asleep. The phone rang at 12:15 a.m. Helen groaned and picked it up. "Hello? What? Who? Do you know what time it is?" She ran her hand through her hair and turned the light on. "What, now? I don't believe it. Are you sure?" The voice on the telephone explained carefully. Helen groaned again and sat up. "I hope it is serious. If it isn't, somebody is going to be in big trouble. Yes, all right. Send the car in 15 minutes, then. And bring me some coffee. Goodbye." She put the phone down and got out of bed. Outside the window she could hear a strong wind blowing. 20 minutes later she was sitting in the back of her big black car, drinking a cup of coffee and talking to the chief of airport police on the car telephone. It was raining heavily. Chapter 4. Carl looked out of the plane window. It was very dark and rainy. It was a small airport with only 1 or 2 other planes. But there were 3 police cars near the airport building. "I don't understand," he said quietly in Harold's ear. "Why are we here?" Harold looked worried. "Don't ask me," he whispered back. "Ask them." "No, thanks." Carl looked at the hijackers. The young air hostess was still standing at the front of the plane with her machine gun. One of the young men, also with a machine gun, was standing at the back of the plane. The other hijacker was in the captain's cabin. All the passengers sat very quietly in their seats. A bell rang, and a man's voice spoke. "Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. This is the People's Liberation Army. This plane is ours now, and you are our prisoners. We do not want to hurt you, but as you can see, we have our guns and we know how to shoot. So please, sit quietly in your seats and do what we say. We will be here for 1 or 2 hours. The government of this country has 2 of our brothers in a prison near this airport. We are asking the government to bring our 2 brothers to this plane. When our brothers are free, you will be free. We think this will take 1 or 2 hours, but not very long. As you know, the Prime Minister of this country is only a woman. She will do what we say. So do not worry. Just sit very still and wait a little while. Good night." Carl looked at Harold. "Oh dear," he whispered. "I think we're in trouble, my young friend. Big trouble." Harold agreed. "We certainly are. The government won't set those 2 men free. They tried to put a bomb on a plane last year, didn't they, sir? They're in prison for 30 years. "I know," Carl whispered. "No one could set them free. So what about us?" "What about you, you mean?" whispered Harold. "I'm not important. Look, sir, you'd better give me your passport." "What? Why?" "Shh." Harold put his hand on the older man's arm and stopped talking. Carl looked up and saw the young air hostess staring at them. Her machine gun was pointing at them too. He stopped talking and looked out of the window. After a few minutes, she stopped watching them. "Give me the passport, sir," Harold whispered very quietly. Very slowly and carefully, Carl took it out of his pocket and gave it to him. There was still some coffee in Carl's cup. Very carefully, Harold put the passport on his tray and poured the coffee onto it. When the passport was very wet, he tore it slowly into little pieces. He was a strong young man, and because the passport was wet, it did not make a sound. Then one by one he put the pieces of wet paper into his mouth and ate them. In 10 minutes the passport had disappeared. "I don't understand," whispered Carl. "Why did you do that?" "You'll see," whispered Harold. "But when they ask questions, let me answer, sir, okay? You say nothing." "Okay." Carl looked away out of the window. A large black car was just driving up to the airport building.